everyone. Today I am going to be briefly discussing something bad, and I thought it'd be interesting to dive into film again. And I kind of wanted to discuss Michael Bay films. Yes, Michael Bay films. I'm not saying that all of his films are bad, and again, I'm not saying that he as a person is a bad person at all. This has nothing to do with him. Again, it is the same like how I was addressing Adam Sandler. I'm going to address Michael Bay in sort of a similar way. Now, the interesting thing about Michael Bay is that he kind of has found that signature formula. Kind of similar to Adam Sandler, who's formed that same formula with sticking to the same kind of humor, the same kind of execution of film. And again, Michael Bay does this in a similar way, too. And again, there's some films that are actually, Michael Bay has done that are not necessarily, particularly that I find to be bad. For example, The Rock, that's one that usually people, I think, associate with as a good Michael Bay film. But I think, unfortunately, throughout the process of his career, his filmmaking has gone to the point of generating and reiterating this kind of formula that he's developed over the years. As you can see with other films too, not just the Transformers series like Pearl Harbor, he has developed this sort of signature style formula. And I guess what Adam Sandler is to comedic oriented films, Michael Bay is towards action films. And what I mean by action films is that there's a whole lot of explosion, a whole lot of style, but not a whole lot of substance. And I think that's a real issue, especially when a lot of these films are getting regenerated and emerging time and time again. So, especially when we've already have 4 Transformer films now, because apparently Michael Bay decided, yeah, we need to make another Transformers movie. But I have not seen actually the 4th one, so I can't really judge. But I have seen reviews of the previous films, and I think ultimately, I think it boils down to the fact that he sees action films in a very kind of generic sort of way. That they're designed to be all about the explosions, all about the various shots that you can get of women walking around or running around, and not having a whole lot of likable characters or a lot of a whole lot of story to make it a good action film. I think something like Die Hard, although it is cheesy and it is over the top, like Michael Bay films are, it still has a good lead character. It still has John McClane, and everybody associates that film, and who usually thinks of Die Hard thinks of John McClane. And the problem with Transformers movies is you don't think of you do think of explosions. I mean, at least that's what I think. I think of more explosions than the robots, actually, because you actually do see more explosions and more fighting, actually, than you actually seeing the robots, because there's always something going in the robot's way, and and these movies are really designed to be films that are targeted towards generating this this overflow of the same thing. There is, though, a sense that I think that these action films can exist. They just need to have some kind of likable character, a fun story to kind of get it through. I think the Fast and Furious films sort of work in that same respect. Like, yes, it's really over the top. It's very overblown. It's very, very chaotic. But we remember Vin Diesel and we remember Paul Walker. But with Transformers films, you don't really remember the characters. You don't really remember. You remember them for their unlikability as opposed to their likability. And I think that's a real issue with these films. And again, this isn't just the Transformers series, but although since Michael Bay has been deciding to make them, it kind of says something. I don't know if he's still on the Ninja Turtles project. I'm assuming that he is, and again, there's been a lot of outrage as to how he wants to really change the story around and make the mutant Ninja Turtles alien Ninja Turtles. I mean, you could make it alien and then just have them be mutated from, I don't know, aliens or something, like how kind of Peter Parker was taken by the alien goo and turned into crazy dark Peter. But it doesn't seem like he knows how to construct story or generate ideas. When you're a storyteller, you need to generate ideas. You need to think of things. And that's just not from a substantive, not how something looks as ideas, as much as the thoughts behind those ideas. Every action scene needs some thought and some energy put into it. And you can't really do that, especially nowadays with the massive amounts of technology that we have. It seems like that, it's kind of the same with music. It's a lot easier to produce and to market than it was years and years and years ago. So I think that it's made it difficult for entertainers to ultimately generate a product that has ideas and has deep thoughts and understands what it's about and what it's supposed to represent. And I think that's sort of an issue with with Michael Bay films, because they focus on a concept, on an idea, but it's all on the presentation and not on the substance. It's all about the outer, not the inner. So you may have a nice avocado, but maybe the inside nut is not able to produce anything more. So I think that's the best way I can explain why I think Michael Bay has generated towards his films being more of visual rather than of substance. And I think this has an impact. I think it can have an impact on how we perceive certain things and how we see entertainment. If entertainment should be focused on reiterating various things, or if there should be something new and something inventive. Again, ideas. Ideas, at least great ideas, come from the mind and not from a market standpoint. But that's not to say that they can't. I just don't think within the entertainment industry that really works, because you look at the numbers and they kind of contradict the whole idea of putting huge amounts of substance into films. So what can be said about this? Well, and what proof do I substantially have in regards to Michael Bay being this kind of filmmaker? I did watch the Nostalgia Critic video on Transformers 4, and how he actually didn't really discuss the film all that much, but he discussed Michael Bay extensively, and this is kind of what made me think that this would be a perfect topic to discuss, considering that Transformers 4 just came out. And that is that he doesn't seem to know how to express ideas. And this was highlighted when, you know, the Nostalgia Critic showed this clip of him going up and talking to all of these people. It was at some kind of conference. And he couldn't get his ideas together. He couldn't fully have an idea of what he wanted to say. And I almost felt sorry for him, because that must be embarrassing to, like, you know, have this whole, like, elaborate, you know, presentation where hundreds of people are watching you, and you just walk off. You don't say anything. And he couldn't, like, he literally couldn't. He tried. He was trying to think of something to say, and he couldn't think of anything. He couldn't bring anything up, and he just walked off, completely walked off, like just gave up. And that, I think, is just so telling. When a director who's supposed to be responsible for generating various ideas and working with various people on those ideas can't go up and give a presentation. Like, it shocked me when I saw it. I was literally blown away, and I felt bad for him in a way. I mean, it's sad that you know, and I think he realized it too, and that's why he walked off. He realized he couldn't do it. He couldn't generate the ideas, and he couldn't think beyond the exposure to people. And again, I think this has to do with his films, and I think Nostalgia Critic emphasized this too when he showed the clip, and how he said, like, yeah, this is the director. He made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So making all of these films. So I think ultimately what it comes down to is the fact that these ideas don't really hold a lot of substance. And then again, he throws in this awkward comedy too. So it's not just the explosions, not just the sort of the zooming in on women bit, but it's also the fact that he tries to generate this comedy within it that kind of doesn't work if you want to make a more serious action film. So there's just a lot within his films that I think highlight this point, and this sort of inability to understand fully what he's trying to present. And I think it's just one of those things where you can't, it's just one of those things I think you can't ultimately change. So I think really the problem that I've been seeing with Michael Bay films is of this whole idea of we can just have this lack of ideas. We can present people with what has been presented and just reiterate it and not try to improve or do something with it. And I think that's the problem. And I mean, I'm sure there's people who enjoy his films, And I'm not saying that everything that he has done in the history of his existence is horrible at all, or anything about his character as a person. I'm just saying, as a filmmaker, as a director who holds a lot of responsibility, his ultimate final products are not necessarily that good. And I think a lot of it has to do with this whole idea of I can just sell them my style and they'll go and watch it because they'll know it's a Michael Bay film. And yeah, I mean, and I think there's always going to be that market. It's kind of like how there's a lot of people who are loyal to Spielberg, or who are loyal to Kubrick, or who are loyal to Adam Sandler. You know, there's a lot of people that like to associate a director or actor or somebody that's involved with the film with what they like, because ultimately maybe what they produce is something that people enjoy. But for me personally, I think the issue really stems from this idea that, again, there are no ideas. That's the thing. No ideas in Michael Bay films, just nothing there. Completely unoriginal. And again, this is, I think, an issue for Hollywood, at least a lot of it now, especially with the massive amounts of technology that we've had. It really does allow people to make things a lot quicker, a lot easier, within a lot less time, because you have computers, and computers make things more efficient. But it's not to say that your product is going to ultimately be as good as something that doesn't have computers in it. And again, I'm totally not against using computers. No, that's not the issue. It's just that it's the only thing now that seems to be the important thing now to have within film, so that they have spectacle, and so they have something that you can look at and really, really, really pause and, you know, maybe rewind and just see how it's very visual. And I understand that, and I think visual aspects of film are really good and can tell you something. But when you over action your action film and don't put the characters first, then you don't have a classic action film. See, this is what makes Terminator 2 different from something like Transformers. It has these characters that have to go through things. It takes its audience seriously. It doesn't talk down to the audience, and it actually presents an idea that probably maybe has some grounds within reality, or grounds within the surrounding that is trying to put itself in, like science fiction. And see, that's the thing. It's too much of a spectacle now. A lot of filmmaking, and I don't think Michael Bay is the only one that puts himself in this category as being a man of style. I think a lot of directors now are focused on style and not substance, and I think Michael Bay, though, when it comes to action films, Michael Bay is really the reinforcement of that, though, especially with his Transformers films, especially with films like Pearl Harbor. There is just this really huge overemphasis on spectacle, on being just blown away by how everything looks, not really understanding why it's happening, and who's involved, and what are the consequences. You know, it's just there. It's spectacle, and that's what people love. This spectacle. And I understand if you do. And I understand if you enjoy Michael Bay films. But for me personally, okay, being the honest person that I am, I have to say that I think a majority of his films fall into this trap of being bad because they don't provide a whole lot of substance to the spectacle that it's trying to give. Again, similar to George Lucas with the prequels and how he was trying to emphasize and overuse CGI. I think Michael Bay is the same to be in this category. And I mean, the special effects are great. I mean, the people who do these films, who do all of these effects and things like that, they deserve their money. they do. I just think that there should be some substance behind their spectacle. And I think it gives their spectacle all the more meaning. You know, if you just see an explosion happen and you don't know anybody involved and you don't get to know a character, you don't get to know a story, if you're confused, you know, how engaging is that? Compared to something that does have spectacle, and it also has good characters, it has a good story. You know, can you imagine how much more invested you are in that spectacle, because now it's got all of the parts of it that ultimately result in good filmmaking. So really that's really the point I just wanted to highlight. I think it's really similar to what the Nostalgia Critic was saying, but I wanted to go into the more reasons why as to why I think Michael Bay films in general are not as good, and I don't think are as great. And I think the points that I've made in this video sort of demonstrate that. But if there are any questions or comments and or concerns about the subject, I'd be more than happy to answer them, or any other subject that you would like to bring up. So yes, thank you so much for watching, and this is nothing, and it's nothing personal against anybody who enjoys Michael Bay films. I just don't find them good. I find a lot of them bad, and the reasons are what I basically highlighted in this video. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all sometime soon, which would be tomorrow, where I'm going to be doing Animation Friday, and it'll be a really cool Animation Friday. I have something really interesting planned. It's actually a project that I did in college. I did research on animation, its history. In particular, its marketing history. So I kind of want to discuss that. I think it would be a really interesting topic to discuss instead of just discussing, you know, these various favorite shorts. I thought it would be just something cool to talk about tomorrow. But ultimately, I think that's really all I can say. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have all a great day, month, week, year, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye.